Hello and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. As ever, I'm joined by my colleagues in the industry, Ian Storey and James Kendall, and this week we have another special guest, which is Richard Bray, who is a partner agent at James Kendall Estate Agents. He's going to be talking about partner agency today. How are you, Rich?
I'm very well, thank you, lads. How are you all? Are you well?
Yeah, very good, very good. It's good to have you, mate. So looking forward to getting into your head and knowledge about partner agency today.
Well done about
that. Let's start as we always do, lads. How's your week been? And we'll go to you, Ian Storey.
Well, I've had a good week, chaps.
Has it been? Has it been? You were stressed last night.
Well, I was working late last night because I had a big day yesterday, but it's all good. You know, there's some lovely new listings about to drop. We've got two coming on today at 1.5, both absolute beauties, both 2%. Another really nice one at 875 also coming on. They want one off us at one. Phil's bagged a couple of really good listings, a really good red row at 450, and I really love them. You know, if you can get yourself some 450s at 2%, that's your gold. They sell quite quickly. You know, 10 grand fees, straightforward, dead easy to market. So Phil's put one of those on yesterday and another good one last week as well. And then we've agreed some good sales. We had a faller on one just after Christmas at 1.25 that we've managed to resell immediately to a cash buyer at 1.25. And the cash buyer is actually the seller of a big one that we've got coming on soon. So that's quite a nice little tie-up. And then a couple of other good sales, one at 1.3, and another one in the sixes. So, you know, good. No, not had a swathe of new listings in the last week, but a few bubbling away that I'm pretty sure we're going to get. We're just sort of nudging them towards signing. But overall, it is good, and there's no complaints from me. We've just been putting in place our plan for the year, so we've set our new bonus target for the team. So that's going to be more than we turned over last year. To set a bit of a stretch target for the team to achieve, and then their bonus will come off the back of that. But no, all good, lads. Yeah. How about you, James Kendall?
Well, thank you for asking, Ian Storey. Yeah, we've had a really good month. And I say, when I say we, I mean, you know, collectively, you know, Rich has had a stonker of a month this month, haven't you, Rich?
Yeah, good.
Talking about reselling stuff, you know, you've just got away Tickford House again, which, you know, nice one at 1.25, which brings together, you know, best part of a £2.5 million chain again. Which is really good. I mean, for us as a business this month, we've sold 13 houses, average fee of 11.5 grand. So you can do the maths there in your head really quickly. We're working on a couple. I've sold a new build place that I haven't actually put into the pipe yet at 475. We've got another one we're working on at 550. And a couple of other little bits and pieces at sort of 300 and 400 floating about as well. So we can have a really good month in terms of sales, which is really good. I mean, I think I said to you lads last night when we were having a quick chat, our pipeline, like collectively with Rich and the office, is the highest it's ever been. You know, we're over double what we had in COVID, which is ludicrous, really.
Amazing. Is it ludicrous though, JK? Is it ludicrous? Because obviously, you know, it's brilliant, but it's come from years of graft, but also implementation, consistency that we always talk about. So, you know, I'm not surprised to see that you are where you are, because you are always on that sort of trajectory, in my opinion.
I think what it is as well, like, you know, obviously Rich is a big part of it as well. You know, he's responsible for a nice chunk of what we're doing. But it's, you know, we're all committed to the mission of being better. You know, you look at where just, you know, just going back to COVID, we were thrashing around with fees a little bit. You know, we were doing 1% deals. You know, Perry said something the other week on the pod about the commerciality of it. You know, and we preach, you know, 1.5%, 2% fees here, but you know, if you've got a house that's coming on, you know, you're going to sell within a week and it's a 7 or 8 grand fee, you know, it's all great telling everyone on Facebook that you're getting 1.5%, 2%, but you don't want to walk away from 7, 8, 9, 10 grand, you know, in the COVID when a house is going to sell in a day. It just doesn't make commercial sense. However, you know, the market has totally changed now. And when the market does flip, that is, you know, arguably when you do really need to up your game and up your fees, because, you know, in this market, our fees are, more than double, probably what they were they are more than double what they were in COVID, in most cases at the moment, especially on the lower end, lower to mid end. Upper end, we've always been very consistent with getting really strong fees, but on the mid to lower end, in peak COVID, sometimes you just had to make a commercial decision and run with it. But
JK, can I just pick up something there, mate? It's easier to get higher fees on expensive houses, so
correct.
You should pat yourself on the back that you have increased your fees on the lower end, mid-lower end, because that's harder to do.
Average fee as a business.
Sorry, I think just quickly, I think it's also the fact that we're in a situation now that we weren't in 4 or 5 years ago, where we would walk away from the lower end houses. Yeah, we're quite happy to walk away. We're quite happy to say, right, okay, then, if you want the 1% agent, we'll see you in 12 weeks. And then go back in, and when they say, well, what is your fee? Well, it's 2%, because we've now got to work harder.
Yeah,
100%. And then the thing is, as well, sometimes we go and you don't want it. The house isn't the right fit. Yeah. It doesn't work for what we're trying to do. The vendor isn't motivated. There's so many different things. But I mean, just going back to the week really quickly, because I'm conscious that I've gone on quite a bit, as I like to do. We've booked 41. I've got 40 on the system, but 41 valuations so far this month, which is crazy, really. And again, our letters have gone out late. We've got a stack that are just about to go out now. Didn't get them out just after Christmas. So, we're going to have nearly 10,000 landing in the next few days. So, it's just how we're going to get on with servicing those valuations over the next 3 months. But, it's good. You've got to buy tickets to be in the raffle. And, I'm really looking forward to this year. I think this year is going to be our best yet.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's our week. Dave, how has your week been, mate?
Okay, thank you. I had a bit of it felt like I've been very busy, but it's felt like it's a bit of a slow start in a way. I've been to my valuation, like when you two came back and said to me, like, you were both on 20 odd valuations, I was like, oh my God. I was absolutely nowhere near, but they've all started to come through now. So we're at like 25 valuations now, which, for me is great and kind of where I want to be, to be honest. 25 to 30 a month at the minute for me as a business is great and manageable. We've had a faller this week, which is a bit disappointing. It was a really good sale to get in as well. But we've had a couple of nice sales. We're negging 5 offers. We sale agreed. I forgot to mention one the other week that we sale agreed at 1.15 million, which was a really nice one. And lads, I'm going to some corking valuations at the moment. Again, I think it's we've consistently sent letters now for a while. But
sended letters.
We've sended letters for a while now.
That's organised.
That is in
You're
the
so unorganised.
You
beat me to it.
Ian, it's disorganised, mate.
Sorry.
I've been doing some really corking valuations. Obviously, we've been sending letters for a while. You build up a bank, and they're starting to filter through even more now. People are seeing what we're doing on social media. That's another thing, lads. I won't go off on a tangent, but I've had some amazing engagement recently on social media from pre-launches. And that's elevated us again. We've had a couple of valuations off that. So, I've been to some amazing valuations. I've got loads of great stuff in the pipeline. I've got 2 coming on at 800 that should sell nicely. One at 950, one at 600, one at 500,000. So it feels like it's been a slow start, but they're all coming in now. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think we'll be where we should be. It's often the case in January, isn't it? Sometimes you hit the ground running. Sometimes it just takes a little time to get going. But we're on track to sort of be where I want to be. It's just taking a bit of time to come in, but all good overall. Rich, let's go to you, mate. So I'll tell you what, Rich, why don't we start straight off by asking you a little bit about your role, what you do, and then give us a little bit about where you're up to and how your week's been, etc.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go for it.
Introduce yourself.
Well, my name's Richard Bray. I'm a partner agent at James Kendall. I had no idea about estate agency 7 years ago. I was in banking for many years and basically got made redundant, came out, thought, well, God, what am I going to do? Met James, and then just a phone call out the blue, I rang him up and said, James, do you fancy, is there any way I can work for you? and he came up with the idea of being a partner agent. And I wasn't quite sure how that was going to play out. It soon very quickly realised that I would have to go into the office probably for about 6 months, which I did. I sat in the office, listened to calls, went out on valuations, went out on viewings, listened to what happened behind the scenes, and realised that I wasn't going to get paid for 9 months. There wasn't going to be nothing, because basically you can't just go out, and we'll come to this later on, I'm sure, but you don't just become a partner agent and then put a social media post out saying, I'm in your area, I'm an estate agent, and everybody's going to ring you up and sell their house. It doesn't quite work like that.
Totally.
But so I went into the office. The nickname was the unpaid temp. And I was fortunate because I had the financial backing to do it. And it was a complete career change, and it was a decision I made. And James gave me everything, and I mean everything. I sat down, but it was, he was there. I was asking him questions. I sat with the boys in the office and the team and heard about sales progression and all those things. I didn't know. I thought an estate agent just put a listing on Rightmove, few photographs, and took the money. I had absolutely no idea what.
Lots of people think that. Lots of people think
I know. And I just thought it was easy. I thought, this is going to be easy. You just get a house and sell it. Because I've always been able to sell. I'd like to think I've been quite personable. So I've been able to go out and have conversations with people and do whatever. But little did I know that I would be in a coat with an umbrella, walking round, knocking on people's doors for 9 months.
Rich, this is, I reckon, it's a golden start, this, because I think that partner agency, we talked with Perry last week about partner agency, and he's obviously got his views, but one view that we all shared was that it's not an industry that you can just walk into and start listing and selling houses. And the first thing that you said there was, I came in and I realised I had to spend 6 months in the office just listening, working for free. And I also realised quickly that I was going to get no payment for 9 months. And you still went ahead and did it. Was that realisation from yourself? Did JK give you those expectations? And how did you feel about that? Because one thing that we find is that there's obviously some very big players, very big models, the EXP model, Keller Williams. There's a few, isn't there? The self-employed models, but for me, they are saturated. They've got hundreds and hundreds of self-employed agents, and I think I'm led to believe that it's a smaller percentage that succeed. So. Yeah, what was your sort of mindset going into it, and what made you make the leap? I know obviously you've been made redundant, but you could have easily gone and got a job. Yeah. So what made you do this?
Going and getting a job wasn't that easy, actually, to be fair, because I was working in a sector of the banking world that basically disappeared. So I was working in subprime mortgages for Merrill Lynch Investment Bank. So literally everybody in my role was made redundant across the world. So it was a little bit of a, oh my God. And especially at my age at the time, I was 46. It wasn't an easy time. So I've always been the kind of person that sort of like, and mostly down to my wife, to be frankly honest, that goes, okay, chapter closed. What are we going to do now? How are we going to solve this problem? And that was for literally, I was very lucky. I got paid off. I got a good redundancy package. I got all of that. So I had the money. So it was just, how do I change this career and what do I do? And I did a couple of other little bits that brought me in a bit of an income. But it was mainly just the realisation was when I sat in the office the first morning and I thought, God, I've got a lot to learn. I really have. And it was like, oh my God. And we've seen it since. James has obviously seen it since. A couple of partner agents that have tried to join us have just literally not got a listing in months. Literally, and
I think just to jump in on that, actually, what is interesting is that some of those partner agents came through you.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rich is obviously, you cut him open, he's James Kendall in the middle.
Yeah.
But people approach. I think one of the things that you do, Rich, and I think a lot of people don't realise, you're like an iceberg in a lot of ways. That people see the top, but they don't see all the work underneath. Everything that's gone in to get to where you've got to. And I think some of those people that you've brought in, with the best intentions, you've obviously tried to grow James Kendall and, bring people on board. And they've approached you and said, is this something that we could do? And, you've gone, yeah, why not? Go and speak to James. And, there's those people that we spoke to, as lovely as they are as people, professionally, it just doesn't work. They look at you and they go, well, if Richard can go out and do a few videos and say, hi, I'm Richard from James Kendall and this, that, and the other, I can do that. Anyone could do that. Well, yeah, anyone can do that. But, what they don't see is, the doors you've had to knock on. You cut your teeth on some, we had a contract with a retirement village. They basically gave us all of the sales for all the people that were buying a retirement village.
Yep.
And some of them were lovely. Some of them were like 800, 900, £1 million houses. But equally, some of them, it was, it was beautiful, wasn't it? Not. But it was a bungalow, and it would just, honestly, it was awful. Like, they hadn't cared for it, and it wasn't. Now we wouldn't take it on.
No.
It just goes totally against the brand. So we would, it's not the kind of thing we could work on. But again, going back to commerciality 5 years ago, that was great. I mean, that contract probably earned us 250 grand in total, so it was worth doing for the year. But Rich going out there, it was a good one to cut his teeth on, because it had been on the market before. No one could sell it. Rich sold it to randomly a first time buyer. It was a bungalow.
Weird.
But just going back to it, the people that were approaching us, they said the right things and did, and said they were going to do the right things, but they didn't want to knock on doors. They didn't want to put themselves out there on social media. They just thought the phone was going to ring. And they were going to go, oh, hello, Steve. See you posted once on Facebook in the local notice board. Just wondered if you could sell my £5 million house for 5%.
I genuinely think that is, joking, sarcastic, but it's genuinely what people think. Like, you see these sort of educational videos going out saying how to present your home for sale and da-da-da. And they'll do like a series of videos that they might post out every so often, and some of them might not even be brave enough to put it out into the open world on local groups and things. And I genuinely think that they've either watched so much or listened to so much Gary Vaynerchuk or whatever that they just think it's going to come.
The thing is, though, David, it will if you're consistent with it, but you can't just do it for a week and go, hi, this is how to, I've never been an estate agent before, but this is how to present your house for sale. Great. That video was great when it came out 8 years ago and nobody else was doing it. If you look at what we've done with like the local businesses, like you've done with like the Christmas campaigns. Ian's done with his local podcast. We've been consistent within the community. You've got to be a community focused agent. Giving money to we have given money to the schools. There's a very sort of two sides of the coin and two different types of the debate when it comes to supporting the communities in the industry. Some people are like, well, don't bother sponsoring a kids football team and don't bother like supporting the local school because they're not going to give you any instruction, blah blah blah. No, probably not. If you go and give the local kids football team a new kit for 250 quid, it's not going to generate you 10,000 instructions, but it does give you goodwill amongst the parents, and it does put you in the conversation and put you in front of people that might be selling a house.
I also think, JK, that when you're just starting out, it's so mumuch easier to do all this sort of stuff because you've got so much more time.
Yeah.
So when I was starting out, and I did so much locally on Facebook and got my face out there on Facebook, various different methods, as you know, we've talked about them before. But I had time.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't got the time now, but obviously now we've got a good business with a really good reputation, and I don't need to do as much of that personally, although we do still do quite a bit compared to loads of other agents.
Yeah.
But when you're younger, you've got time, and that's what you need, really. So you could absolutely blast your local areas with really good content for free.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, with us, the way video kind of really came around is that when Rich first got started, he was knocking on doors locally, doing a few bits and pieces, trying to sort of wear people down. But then he just happened to walk on, and we've said this on other podcasts before. There was a new build site being built up the road, and he walked on, and the developer just happened to be there, and he already had 2 agents on it, and he basically talked his way into, look, give us a shot. We're doing this, we're doing that. Talked the developer around to giving us a shot. In kind of just pre-COVID, I think it's like 2018, 2019 when they were just being built. And, we kind of got our heads together and we're like, right, how are we going to do this? How are we going to beat the other 2 agents? Because the other 2 are just on Rightmove with their listings.
Yep.
I said, we need to really double down on video. And our first videos that we did were awful, but they were much, but we were doing them. I say they were awful. They weren't awful, but they were nowhere near the level they are today. They were very kind of like, I had the gimbal and the phone on the gimbal. We didn't have a proper mic or anything. And what we did is we just basically walked around the site, and Rich then posted it all over social media. And it got to a point where, you couldn't go anywhere on Facebook without seeing a post from us, especially if you were based in where Rich is, Lavenden and Oney, without seeing one of the videos. Then they started to appear on Google. Then all of a sudden the houses that had been knocking on the door for, and they'd gone, we've seen your videos on Facebook. Then they were then coming back to them and going, maybe it's worth a conversation. Then we'd get their house on. We've got Harold Road on, didn't we? Rich, Christine's house on. Yeah. She'd seen the videos you'd done. Would you do a video for my house? Then you sold that. And then all of a sudden it starts to snowball, doesn't it?
So we'll talk to us about that, Rich, then. So I think, JK, you had to take a call then before, but we were talking about when Rich first came in. And obviously he mentioned straight away something that really struck me, because we talk about it all the time, that Rich recognised straight away he couldn't go out straight away and knock on doors. Yeah. He'd got little experience. He'd realised it wasn't just a case of list the house on Rightmove and hope for the best.
Yeah.
He recognised he needed to go into the office, work 6 months, and he probably isn't going to get paid for the next 9. So from that point, Rich, what did your journey look like? You've gone in, first day at James Kendall, you're starting to absorb things. What was your next step and your strategy from there? Did you have one?
I did. I did.
And bear in mind, we're probably talking to two types of people here. People who are self-employed agents or thinking about becoming a self-employed agent. They might be employed now.
Yeah.
And we're also talking to business owners as well who are maybe considering going down the partner agent route. So, talk to us about your experience there and how you started and stuff like that.
It started very early. I think James was quite frankly honest with me. He said, you're going to need to get out there. You're going to need to show your face and you're going to need to get out there. That's what you're going to need to do. So what I used to do was I used to go into the office all day, listen to the calls, and then answer phone calls and do that, all that basic stuff. And then I would look on Rightmove, pick an area, and I would look at houses that had been on the market for probably 10 weeks plus. Yeah. And I would drive around. I would literally get Rightmove up, drive around, take my business card, talk to them about what we do. At that point, we were doing Matterport tours, which no one else was doing, but we did them. Well, we were the first ones, and I talked to them about, have you seen these virtual tours of your house? We do some videoing. Social media is the way forward. How many other agents are doing that? And literally just kept knocking on those doors. At Harold Road, I must have knocked 12 times on Harold Road and said, hi, Christy, I'm only around the corner. Come on, you haven't sold your house with one of these national agents. It's my turn now. And then that all led to me walking onto the building site. We sold 7 out the 8 against the other 2 agents because they literally just had a sign up and a Rightmove listing, but our videos went viral, as James said. I couldn't walk around the local supermarkets without people coming up to me and going, let's get this property sold. They used to put my wife, she couldn't walk around with me. It was brilliant. It really was. And that's when you get,
I love that.
That's when you get that whole motivation of, I'm going to go to a new area and I'm going to knock on all these doors and I'm going to introduce myself. And literally it was 9 months of that, Dave. And that's what it was. It was literally 9 months.
I mean, if anyone, that was a brilliant sort of 45 seconds of how to start off being an estate agent. It isn't difficult. It isn't difficult, but people do not put the hard yards in. They do not put the hard yards in, or they spend too much money. What you were doing there, Rich, was free.
Yeah, free. Yeah, absolutely.
I know it wasn't free of your time, but it was monetarily free, wasn't it?
It was purely fuel and time. That's all it was.
Fuel and time.
That's all.
Basically free.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for the silver bullet, though, aren't they? Everyone's looking for that. I'll pay £1,000 and get the phone to ring, and people want to instruct me. Whereas, when you're unknown, as Rich said, you've got to get out there. People got to see who you are. What are you doing differently?
Now, Rich, I know you strike. I think anybody who meets you looks at you and assumes you've just got thick skin, and you've obviously done this for a long time, and you're good in sales. But I think everybody initially has that little bit of fear when they go and knock on someone's door for the first time.
Oh God!
So what about yourself when you first started that? Because Ian's just made a great point. This is all free.
Yeah.
And you can get yourself started quickly.
Yeah.
So again, what strategy was it? Just 10 weeks and go and knock on doors? And how did you feel about that? How did you overcome the fear? How many no's were you getting?
Oh, God. Rejection was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. If you got, it was like, no thanks, go away. I'm happy with my agent. Thanks very much. Please don't knock. Please don't knock. Oh, God, yeah. It was really refreshing when you actually struck up a conversation, 1 in 30. It was honestly, the rest of them were like looking out the window and saying, hello, can I help? Oh, no, go away. It was difficult because I hadn't been in that. I had a safe job on the train, into a bank, out of home, earning a decent salary. I was way out of my comfort zone, way out of my comfort zone. And it took even now, knocking on someone's door as a cold call, ignoring the no cold calling signs in the window, is difficult. It's tough. It's not easy. And if people say that they can just do it, it's not. And to say that you're going to turn everybody in the pub into a client, that's not going to happen either, because by the time they've left, they forgot who you are. So the journey is a long, tough one. But God, at the end of the day, if you put the miles in, it's rewarding. It is rewarding. But anybody that now, I would say that if you were like yourselves, a business like yourselves taking on a partner agent, I think you have to tell them all this up front, that you're not going to earn for 9 months.
What?
It's you know, you're not. But if they're experienced in the estate agency and they've sat with a high street estate agent and they know what they're doing, you still have to tell them. Because because remember, people walk into their offices. They're on the high street. People know who they are, and I think they think that they're just going to transfer those sort of like abilities and become a partner agent and then start earning more money. But it's just it won't work like that.
I had that conversation the other day. Sorry, Dave. I was just going to say I had that conversation with someone the other day that there's a difference between conversion and generation. Lead generation and conversion are two different things. And when you're sat in a business, like if someone, like for example, our business is a great example. We're sending out 10,000 market updates every quarter, and it's the leads are there. We've got 13 years in business, so there's a lot that we offer that kind of comes as a kind of given. So, sorry, Dave, you were going to say something, mate. That was just on the top of my head.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just because it resonated me again with what Rich was saying. I've been in so many rooms over the years on training courses, and I'm a big fan of. I think you should always be learning and trying to upskill and learn from other people. That's why we do what we do. But I've been in so many rooms where, with the greatest of respect to these people, they were in the wrong room, and I've often thought some of the questions that you're asking here are so basic, and nobody has had the balls to say to you, "You're not ready for this. You need to do what Rich has done and go and have 6 months behind the desk, learning and listening and understanding what the industry means, and if it's right for you, because it might not be, because everything that you've just described there is an estate agent's job." Perry said something last week, and I just thought, he's right. Bloody hell, it was like a light bulb moment. He said, if you want a lifestyle business, don't become an estate agent. And I think he's right.
Yeah, he is.
I think he's absolutely right. Because last night the three of us were on a call. You're negging deals a lot of time at night because people are at work. They're long days, so you sometimes lose your weekends. It just isn't. You've got to work hard and build something to get out of that and build your lifestyle business almost.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. It was like last week, Dave. Sorry to interrupt. Last week, basically, we lost. James mentioned it earlier. We lost a cracking chain deal on. It was between basically just New Year, and we went back to market. The vendors couldn't do the Saturday. So I did viewings on the Saturday at other properties, and I changed my Sunday. So I went out and I did the viewings at that property on the Sunday. It was 39 grand's worth of fees. You can't just say, "Oh, I've got my family coming round" or anything like that. You just have to do it. And there's and we resold. So that Sunday was well worth going to do. We tied the deal up on the Monday, and the chain was back together again.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It really resonated with that. But going back to my point, I'm not trying to criticise anybody, but I think where you've had a real advantage there, Rich, is that you work with someone, JK, who doesn't suffer fools.
Absolutely.
He'll tell you how it is.
Yeah.
You ain't going to earn for probably 9 to 12 months. You're going to need 6 months behind the desk. Don't come into this with your eyes closed. Don't come into it thinking you're going to make 150, 200 grand a year from day one. It ain't going to happen. There's so much application needed, strategy needed, layers of skin to build over the years. And you've really got to get an understanding of how the industry works. Because if you're sat in front, particularly if you want to do mid to high end as well, I mean, all over the market, but imagine being sat in front of a homeowner or a wealthy individual, and you don't understand sales progression. You don't understand the pitfalls of what can happen, and you can't articulate how to overcome these hurdles. I think having a sort of natural flair for sales will get you so far.
Yeah.
But knowledge wins every time, and we're always learning. And I think it can take years to get to a certain level. And I think you'll agree. You've been doing it. What is it? You say 5, 6, 7 years?
6 years now, James, isn't it? I think
6 years, yeah, mate. Yeah.
And I would guess you're still learning every day.
Oh God!
After 6 years,
absolutely every single day. Yeah, and I tell you what, though, I remember our first ever £1.5 million valuation. It was here in Lavenden, and we were up against 2 really well-known brands. And James came with me, actually. We went together. We did a bit of a double team because we knew it was a big one. And the thing that set us apart, and it was really, really weird, we went with an agenda. So we had everything written down as a talking point. Do you remember, James?
Yeah.
And we walked in and we said, right, okay, we've got a bit of an agenda here. And then we had any other comments and all that sort of stuff. And they were very old school. And they instructed us on the back of having...
We measured the house, though, didn't we? That was the other thing, and we measured the house and we were doing pounds per square foot.
Yeah.
Like, not to the level now where obviously we do the data loft files.
Yeah.
But we just very basic because I think we were just very keen, A, to win it, but B, also to make sure we got it right as well.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, and we did get it right. We sold it. We did loads of viewings. We did about 6 or 7 viewings within, a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, James?
Yeah.
Did a great video there. They had a big sort of like a lake at the bottom of the garden with a summer house, and we staged it, and we had a bottle of champagne and the drone coming over the lake to me standing there, and it was basically unheard of around the area. When that video went, I don't know how many views it's had now up to date, but when that video went live, it was tens of thousands of views.
Yeah, it was about 80,000, I think, at the time, which was like unheard of.
It was unbelievable, but it was all down to the fact that JK spent the money. He did. Those guys that did the video those days, they weren't cheap.
Yeah. So it was $1,000 a video back then.
It was.
I've got a question, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, and if it's negative, we'll just cut it out, JK. But no, I want to know like what the relationship's like between you two, because obviously I think that's so important. Again, some of the big companies, they promote the sort of togetherness, the groups, and all that sort of stuff. And I do think that having a community, like, we offer a community here at TCA, for example, for self-employed or business owners and leaders. But as a self-employed agent, Rich, I think it can probably be a lonely place if you don't have the support network. So what's your relationship with JK like in respect of the support that you get and what you do day to day at James Kendall?
It's an amazing relationship, to be frankly honest. It's almost a bit like, and I know, please don't take this the wrong way, James. It's a bit like father-son, actually. It's a bit like, honestly, it is. It is, because James has got all the knowledge. So
you look too old to be his son.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell that to my 4 grandchildren. So it is. We speak probably 5 or 6 times a day on the phone. Always. If we ever get in the car, it's always on speed dial. James, just catch up, talk about rubbish, to be frankly honest, because as you say, it is a very lonely place. I try and make an effort that if I'm free, I do try and drive into the office just to be part of that team, even though I don't need to. It's nice to go in and say hello to them and buy them a coffee. buy them some lunch or something, because, I couldn't do any of it without them. None of it. The support in the office, James, all of them. It is a big family.
I think that's a big part of it, Rich, as well. Like just talking about the team quickly, because there's a lot of obviously partner agency options out there for different people. There are people that will throw 70% commission out to the agents, but you've got to do it all yourself. You've got to pay for your own photos, sort your own photos. You've got to do your own admin. Yes, there's somebody in a call center somewhere answering the phone and passing you a message on, but there's no sales progression. There's no. You're very much, yes, you can have the lion's share, but yeah, you're out on your own. You're taking all the risk for 70%.
Yeah. Also with on the commission splits, JK, what Rich has got with you is the power of the brand, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So a lot of the other partner agency models where you might get a bit more of the fee, you're not. There's so much inconsistency across the brands,
Yeah. No one's ever heard of you.
Damaging. No.
Well, it's a really great topic, that, actually, just quickly, because obviously, with these partner agent models, a lot of them, I'm not knocking any of them, by the way. I think there's some really great and there's some bad, but again, it's promoted that you can have your own business, set it up yourself, have your own name, it's your own limited company, all that sort of stuff, which is obviously necessary. But if you go out all of a sudden and you are Richard Bray estate agents, it probably would be like starting from, well, it would be like starting again.
Yeah.
You've got your face out there, which is great, and a lot of people will know Richard Bray, but they also know the brand, James Kendall, very, very well in the areas that you serve.
Oh, yeah.
So that in itself, probably for a partner agent coming in, is a bit of a leg up, I would have thought. Is that right? Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely 100%. It's the whole package that we get. I get everything. I wouldn't do sales progression for £1 million a year. Fact. I wouldn't. I'm being 100% honest with you. I could not do it.
Yeah.
In 5 minutes, I'm done. I really can't do it. I haven't got I just can't do it. Yeah, and Sandra in our office is just amazing. And she's worth everything she does. She's just amazing. People don't remember me when I hand the keys over. They don't. I've done the front end bit and then passed it over to the team in the office, and they basically get the deals through. And, it's just being part of that team. And I think if I was a member of one of those other organisations, the thing that really stands out to me is the consistency across their brands. So you can have one person that is exceptional, and you look at it and go, well, they're doing a good job. But then someone is dragging that name down by taking pictures on iPhones, and there was one I saw the other day, and it was horrendous. It was a photo of someone's landing hall and stairs, and the vendor was leaning over the staircase. And this went, honestly, in the photo, and this went to Rightmove. How can you, it's got to be consistency. Everything we do, from the letters going out every quarter, I was there on Monday, dragged my wife in. We must have put 2,000 in envelopes, James, probably.
Yeah.
I don't get paid for that, but I'm in there doing it because it's consistency. These people, we go into these big valuations now, and you say, oh, how did you hear from us? Oh, we love your quarterly market updates. No one else does that. And it's what I like about it is the fact it's subtle marketing. It's not in your face. So it's not, we can sell your house. You see you've been on the market a long time, bloody, bloody, blah. It's just a subtle, constant drip feed. And it's constant. Yeah. And that's it. And then, so the videos are the same. The marketing is the same. The brand is always the same. And that's what it's, consistency has got to be the big word. Has to be.
Yeah, and I think going back a couple of steps then, and we've talked about it before, but again, I think another one of the major appeals for a self-employed agent joining a brand and not necessarily operating under their own name as, powered by or something like that, is that you do have brand standards. So, JK won't settle for anything less than, I would think, the absolute best.
Oh, God, yeah.
Whereas, again, if you're a little bit inexperienced or you're not actually quite sure about other things that you need to do to present a premium service, then it's easy to just walk into somebody's house and just switch your iPhone on into the camera mode and start taking a load of photographs and not setting the house up. And I think a lot of people enter the self-employed world with how they've been taught. again, something that resonated with me back in my sort of corporate days at Your Move, because there was, there were spreadsheet analysts above you, and you're under a lot of pressure to get the houses on the market and get them under offer as quick as you can. It literally was a numbers game for the people at the top. They didn't care. All they saw was the numbers. They didn't see what was being put out in the branches. They didn't see what quality was being put out there. And the inconsistency from branch to branch was staggering. And to be truthful, there was an element of when I left, there was an element of, although I've got a lot of pride in my presentation, the difference from a listing that I would have put on in 2016 to now, they're unrecognisable. Unrecognisable. But there's always that, you go to a really bad house, I'll just get it on anyway because it'll sell really, really quick. But, it damages your brand and it keeps you in a certain level. And I think if you consistently go out with that mentality and that attitude, it's really hard to grow with the support of a really good partner agent. And in this case, your partner agent is JK. It just elevates you and allows you to grow quicker.
It does, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think what it does is, because James is so frank and honest and his standards are so high, that feeds through everything. So when you go into a house now, if you're a self-employed agent, you're thinking, I really want to get this house on the market. This is March's salary. Yeah. It's having those conversations with the vendors about, look, we really need to do something with your house if we're going to sell it at a premium price. And it's putting that across in a way that you don't upset them or you don't offend them. And you just have to say to them, look, we need to get rid of all this clutter. It's got to go. I know you're in a hurry. I know you want to do this, but if you want to get that premium, I'm not going to be the estate agent for you that's just going to come in, snap away, get you on Rightmove, and then try and sell your house. No, let's do this properly. This is your biggest tax-free asset here. Telling people, some people don't realise that. They just sort of they don't realise what they're sitting on. And it's really strange. Yeah. This is their future. If they're downsizing, they're going to buy, if they're selling 1.5 million and they're going to buy at 500,000, that £1 million is their pension pot. So you want to get as much as possible for them. So it's what happens pre-listing and the standards you set. And as I say, the consistency through the brand, that has to be put across. And when you take the brochures and when you show them what you've done on previous houses, and they've had the letters, it all just adds up. And then they think, hang on a second, I'm getting a bit more of a, the person that came around previously told me that I could have it on by Tuesday, and he's telling me it's going to be a fortnight.
I've got a good question for you, actually, Rich. I just thought about it might be quite good if, for people listening to it. If you could rewind the clock and start again from zero, is there anything that you would do differently now, knowing what you know now?
Good question.
That is a really good question. Do you know what? I'm not sure there is. I'm not sure there is, to be frankly honest. I think if I had the hindsight to know where we are now, I probably would have had higher standards on some of the properties we took on. I think we may have got further quicker if we hadn't have or I hadn't have taken on some stuff that probably could have harmed the brand in a way slightly. But
I don't think that's just you, though, mate. I think there's an element of commerciality in that time in the market when, it was 2019, 2020 and things were really busy. I agree with you, by the way, but I don't think that's just down to you. I think that as a business, we've certainly in the last 4 years, you've seen the trajectory we've taken. Firsthand, you've been a big part of the journey. I suppose the question I want to ask is, and from the perspective is that if somebody's listening to it and thinking about going self-employed and being a self-employed agent, what advice would you, if you could speak to Richard Bray of 5 years ago that was stepping into these shoes, what would you say to them?
Don't no. No. I think what's happened with other things has proved, James, you can't tell people exactly what needs to be done because they don't believe you, I don't think. They really don't. They've got their own perception of what it's going to be like to be an estate agent self-employed, and their way will be the best way. And when you tell them that, are you going to drive around in the car and are you going to do this and are you going to do that and are you going to do, yeah. But they don't. They don't. And
everyone says they'll do it.
I wouldn't change any. I don't think I would change much at all, to be frankly honest. I think
you've probably built, you've added layers of skin, Rich, as well, because sometimes you need the bad to get to the good.
Yeah,
don't
absolutely.
You?
And we've had some bad. Oh, we have had some bad. We've had some horrible deals, and vendors that don't understand your value. To be frankly honest, they don't, even though they don't see us there at 10 o'clock at night answering the WhatsApp groups. I was emailing last night at 10 o'clock, going back to inquiries. That's a shock when someone puts a Rightmove inquiry and they get a response at 9:30 at night. But that's what we do.
Rich, just cover off again slightly about the brand. I'm just keen to get into that a bit more about, being part of a recognised brand and how you think that helps you when you're sat in the living room. Because obviously, you've got to be good enough in yourself to go in and pitch and get 1.5 or 2% or whatever it is. Yeah. But, what does the brand, does that get referred to? How do you feel with that behind you, any examples of where it's come through?
Well, obviously in my local area now, Lavendon, you cannot drive anywhere without seeing JK boards. You cannot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole area, you drive down every single road, there is a sold sign. I've done a few social media posts where I've got 3 or 4 in a row saying sold. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt one dead quick. Sorry, Rich, that Lavendon area, is that an area before you were there that JK was prominent in?
No.
Brilliant. Right, okay.
That's why I was coming to. None of the areas that I am in had seen the JK brand before.
No. Amazing.
None of them. So there'd never been if you went in and said, "Hi, I'm James Kendall," they had no idea. So that brand awareness in this area has happened over the last 6 years. Obviously, in James's area, it's known. Yeah, it was known very well. But in this area, in Lavendon, Oney, Turvey, Harold, all these villages, it had never been seen. Maybe a couple.
And I suppose that. I was just going to say. What I was going to say was, I suppose, because you were quite a new agent, would it be fair to say that you were able to sort of lean on the brand in those early days? Because of the proof of how did that work?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I could take branding stuff that was done. I could show them previous listings of what James had sold. But we still had, in this area, as a new agent, we had to sell from scratch. It literally was from scratch. We had the brand, everything was done. The logo was good. It stood out. James had put a lot of effort into it. It all looked amazing. And it was but I think the big thing in my area was the videos. It was stepping into that new world earlier than everybody else.
Right, on that then, because that is such an important part of what we do and we preach. So come on, Rich. You'd obviously never done a property video before. Talk to us about your experience there, because it's something that a lot of people struggle with. How did you start? How bad was your first one? Because the ones that you do now are amazing. So what's your journey like been with video? And would you recommend it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I would. Yeah,
it doesn't work in Lavendon though. So if anyone's listening in Lavendon, Oney, or Bedfordshire, it doesn't work in this area.
Yeah. Oh no. I went actually into a valuation a while ago, and I said, "Are they doing you a social media video?" And they turned around and they said it was a major high street brand in the area. And they said, "Oh no, they tell you it's not worth doing videos because it stops people coming to view." All right, unbelievable. Yeah, really. So
taking pictures and putting it on Rightmove as well. That stops people coming to view it because they've already seen it on Rightmove.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's just ridiculous, but no, I think Dave. I think what you were saying is everything. It's a whole pot of stuff. Yeah, and I think I keep going back to the word consistency, Dave, and I think that's what it is. It's we're getting some lovely calls now off the letters. Really nice. These people have been getting these from me now, because remember, I've only been doing the letters probably 18 months, James, now. Yeah. So we're starting to get, when you're going into these big vows, they've had the letters, and it's just you go in and you're a step above everybody else already, because they've not been getting them from anybody else. Yeah. So
just going back to the videos, though, Rich. You. I remember in the beginning when we talked about it, you were a little bit apprehensive in the beginning, but you just went, "Oh, sod it, I'll just do it." I've done public speaking. I've done that. Let's just give it a bash.
Yeah.
And first ever video was at the old Stone Yard.
Yeah.
And it was like we said, "Hello WhatsApp, hello Instagram, hello Facebook, hello LinkedIn." And everyone took the piss, but at the same time, that. And the thing is, what we recognised quite quickly was that the sound quality needed to be up. And one of the things that I preach quite a lot and I talk about a lot is compound interest. And I remember saying to you at the time there, like every video we do from now
it's
on,
going to be 1%
each
better.
time,
yeah,
exactly, 1% better. And that power of compound interest over the time, we've just learned and built on it. And, you know, just going back another step, you know, because I think, you know, Ian, obviously, you know, you've got the Stories, Dave, you've got Burton James, like the brand does so much. But I think what's really, you know, a testament to Rich in my business is that, you know, we were a relatively we were an unknown entity. Like, you know, the brand didn't carry Rich in that area because he was knocking on doors and people had never heard of James Kendall. So he's built that in that area. And I think that is quite a rare quality because, you know, a lot of people seem to think, and Perry said it last week, that they're going to go, oh, well, I'm weak in that area, so I'll just drop a partner agent in that area and everything will look after itself. When quite, you know, we've done that as a business as well here, where we've dropped a partner agent in an area where we're not, you know, particularly strong in, and it's not worked. No. You know, yeah, it's but I think, you know, more down to the agent, but equally, you know, the brand isn't going to carry them in that area because they're not known. You know, there's only so much. I think if we were to, and I think it's quite an interesting topic actually, because, you know, if I think of places like from where I am, so we're in obviously Bedfordshire, but there's parts of Bedfordshire like Sandy, Biggleswade, the other side of the map, where I think if you walked in and stopped 10 people down the street and said, you know, who's the premium agent in this area, our name probably wouldn't come up because we don't sell any houses in that area. We've maybe sold one or two in the last, I don't know, you know, it's a 45-minute drive away.
I think, JK, I think what I mean by power of the brand is I understand that by growing, you're probably not going to have a presence in areas that you grow into. But I think what I mean by power of the brand is that by you having the brand behind you, people will look at Rich and the JK, you know, website and will see the properties that you've sold, and you know, like. That's the power of the brand, isn't
100%,
it?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Like, if someone went on the EXP website and looked at what other agents are selling on EXP, you know, in many cases it looks awful, doesn't it? The quality of the marketing, you know.
Well, that's the frustrating thing. Like you've got, you know, top agents like, you know, what's his name, Alex Pelosi Buchanan.
Yeah,
you know,
he's really good.
He's a top tier agent, you know, and he, you know, wherever he is, whether it's EXP or Joe Bloggs and Co, I think he would smash it because he's got that consistency to being a great agent and great on video. I think he's just the complete package. But the frustrating thing is, and where you're absolutely right, is, you know, somebody could go, oh, who's these EXP lot then? And then go on and see Dave Jones in, you know, somewhere completely other part of the country.
Why Dave, JK?
Always Dave.
They're always
John,
dodgy.
it's normally John.
Because it's a common name. It's a really common name.
It is a really common name.
I know, because Ian was revolutionary when it came out.
But just going back to you quickly, Dave, just quickly on that, I think it did help the fact I had done public speaking as well. The fact I had spoken in front of people.
That would help.
You know, I used to go out and speak to, you know, a room full of people, PowerPoint presentations. So, you know, that did help. But I'm still, God, some of the bloopers we had in the early days. Take after take after take after take after take. And it's like, you know, you're there for 3 hours, 4 hours doing the same thing. And it's just like, oh my God, I can't get this right. I'm never going to be any good at this. But you get there in the end. And as James said, the 1% each time you think, right, next time it's going to be 1% better. Next time it's going to be 1% better.
Yeah. 100%.
And we're still saying it.
No, 1%.
Yeah, 1%.
1% better.
Yeah.
1% better,
each time.
Yeah, we charge 4,500% now plus that.
Doesn't everybody do that? No.
Yeah. I mean, look, the brand, you know, the brand will carry you. You know, if you're a new partner agent, someone's checking you out. The beauty is now with TCA and being powered by TCA as well. You know, being able to drop the letters out into a new area. And going, right, okay, you know, like I say new area, Rich has obviously been working that area for a while, but like you said, he's been sending them for 18 months. We've really been able to kind of double down on that area and sending the market updates out. You know, is starting to sort of bear fruit.
And I'll tell you what else is a big thing. Sorry to interrupt. Big thing is having the TCA network now. So we've got that map where people are positioned all over the country, and people say, "So what is your reach?" Because obviously we're always coming up with we've got a London branch that will sell it. Yeah. But now you can say, well, actually, we've got a network of like-minded, quality estate agents across the country, and we can find you something in that area. I can pass your details across. We can work on this and work together as a whole network. So not only are you coming from the JK brand, you've also got like-minded individuals like yourselves that you can go to your websites, look at your branding, and everybody goes, my God, look at the people they're dealing with. And that really does help.
Yeah. That's a really great show, actually. I'd never really thought about it like that. I mean, yes, the network, but actually if somebody delved a little bit deeper than that and they clicked on a few of the websites of the people that we're dealing with, they'll get the understanding that we're all doing the same thing. Yeah. So you're in a network of really premium agents. It's a really good show.
Yeah, no, I use it a lot now. I use that a lot.
Brilliant. I think, lads, we're approaching the end. I've got 2 questions left. Does anybody else want to elaborate on anything before I do?
Yeah, only thing I was going to say is that if somebody is, I was going to ask a question to Rich actually, but from a different angle. So if this is for anyone that's thinking about adding partner agents to their business, like the perception from a partner agent. So say you were starting again, Rich, like forget me for a second. Because I know obviously you've been tapped up and approached by other agents before. Like if you were starting all over again as a partner agent in like from your perspective, what would you look for if you were going to join an agency as a partner agent? What would be important to you?
It would be everything. It would be their website, their reviews, the office setup. I've got to be honest with you, if I was starting afresh and there wasn't a JK, I wouldn't go to one of the national brands. I wouldn't. I would pick an agency that was smaller, was quite local, probably. I would want a unique, precise brand behind me that was consistent. I wouldn't go to one of those nationals. Even now, even if JK went bust or whatever, I wouldn't do it.
You're not planning to just put it out there.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Okay. That's great. I think that's really valuable feedback. I think anybody listening to this pod today will get loads of great feedback from it. I've got 2 final questions. So, bit of honesty. What is bad about partner agency?
Loneliness. 100%. Yeah. Just not having that, being, and also motivation. You have to get up. You can't just, think, I've got nothing on today. Yeah, you can't. You have to get out there. So the bad bits are the groundwork. Yeah, what you have to put in. Yeah, that's the bad bit, and the loneliness, and not earning some months. That's very bad.
Yeah,
very bad. You have to manage your money. You can't just think, oh, Craig, we've just got a fantastic one in. You've got to be very, very what's the word? Organised with your own lives, and that's the hardest part.
And then on the flip side, Rich, what are the great things?
Oh, I love being part of our team. I do like the flexibility of sometimes being able to do something. But the great things are going into people's houses, making relationships with people, being invited into some of the best houses in the area is absolutely fantastic. And, and when you're dealing at that end of the market, it's just it's a dream world. They really love what you do. They appreciate it. They're professionals. They've made their lives successful because they've got the same beliefs as us. Yeah, and and when you interact with them, they're pleasant. When they send you an email, it's well worded. And I'm not being a snob here. I'm just saying that it's getting into the homes where people appreciate what we do, and that's a really good thing.
Love it, Rich. I think that is a great place to end. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I think you've shared so many golden tips and honest thoughts with everybody. And I think a lot of people, both partner agents existing, anybody who's looking at getting into it, and business owners out there, you've certainly enlightened me, absolutely, as somebody who's going to be going down this route in the future in terms of partnering up with agents. I think it's been a really refreshing and honest assessment of it all.
Thank you very much.
So thanks so much for coming
thanks
on.
for inviting.
Can I just say one more thing, and I think would be valuable? Like, Rich, if you were speaking to other people out there thinking about being a partner agent, what would you say to the three crucial things that they've got to look for with the company they're going to partner up with?
Well, firstly, we've said it: consistency on the brand. Yeah, making sure that everything's done properly. Making sure that the commitment is there from you guys as well. Yeah, that it's not just a flippant go on, get out there, make me some money. Yeah. I want your input as well. I want the honesty, and honesty as well. I think would be a really big thing. You know, if you go in there, I know there's people take on agents all the time and just stick them in areas, but are they really telling them what we've discussed today? You know, that's the big thing. I think honesty, consistency, and the backing of you guys would be the three things.
Brilliant. Cool.
Any other questions? Anything you want to add in, or we call it a day?
No, that was brilliant. Yeah, really good. Thanks you, Rich.
For inviting me on. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
I love it. Thanks so much for coming on, Rich. To everybody else listening, thank you for listening once again.